Okay. Oh, good afternoon, everyone on Patreon. This is what are we? We're the Replimat Watches Who?
We are the Replimat Who commentary.
The Replimat Who commentary, right? This week.
This week.
Of course, Andy and I usually watch episodes of DS9 and occasionally delve into classic Doctor Who from the very beginning. However, it's 2024. We've turned over a new leaf or new something, and so we have a new plan. So one week we do DS9, and the next week we do a commentary on classic episodes of Doctor Who, 3 or 4 at a time. Depending on how we're feeling on that day and how long the story is. So, welcome. It's January 2024, and this week we are watching episodes. We're watching episodes 4, 5, and 6 of The Daleks, the second Doctor Who story from 1964. We have what is it? It's the ambush and the expedition and episode 6. Whose name I can't recall off the top of my head.
The Ordeal, I think.
The Ordeal.
I think it's The Ordeal.
The Ordeal, because episode 7 is then
right.
The Rescue or something. So yeah, The Ordeal sounds good. So here we are. Welcome, and when we're ready to go, we will tell you to press play on either your DVD or iPlayer if you're watching it on iPlayer, and we will chat along with it, and you can be thoroughly, and I mean thoroughly, entertained with our wit, our enthusiasm,
we are very
and our
interesting
insights.
people.
We are interesting people, yes. God damn it. So there we go. Okay.
It's going to be a good year.
It is. It's going to be a fine year.
Okay,
yep,
so
says me and says my banana.
Amazing. Okay, fantastic. Shall we, you, me, and your banana? Shall we enjoy the ambush?
The ambush, indeed. Let's enjoy the ambush.
Is it the ambush? Okay,
I'm sure it's the ambush.
Here we go. Still fine. Oh, pardon me.
Oh, that's a good start.
We shall learn in a moment.
We will. I'm just going to peel my banana in the background, if you don't mind. I had a rather hurried look earlier.
Yes. Not as appealing as your banana, I guess.
Oh, yes, of course, because they've just got out of the cell, haven't they? We've just had at the beginning of the last episode, there you go, the ambush.
Yes, yeah.
Are we going to go?
I did, before while saying, I was thinking, what episode are we on? And I was like, oh, that's right, Ian, Dalek, yes.
Yes, indeed.
I had forgotten too, because it has been a while, on account of we had like 2 weeks off over Christmas.
I can't remember off the top of my head if this is another Christopher Barry episode or this is a Richard Martin episode. I have a feeling it's a Richard Martin episode, this one.
What is it? Are they alternating?
Chris Barry did 1 and I think he did 1 and 2, and then I can't remember. They didn't quite alternate. They did. Excuse me. Chris Barry did a batch, and then Richard Martin did a couple, kind of mixed in, and he wasn't allowed to work on his own, as it were.
Yeah. But now he's okay.
But now he's okay. Yeah. So.
Well, now you bloody have.
Some of the Daleks have a wonderful kind of clerical attitude to them. They're, oh, well, sorry, your name's not down, you're not coming in kind of thing.
Very fastidious.
There's another one in at the end of the, near the end of the Dalek invasion of Earth, where one of them turns around and goes, I will arrange for their extermination, as if she's got some form to fill in or something. It's just great.
My job, excuse me, you let me fill the forms in first.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
Tell you what I would quite like to see. Hyacinth Bouquet meets the Daleks. She won't put up with their nonsense.
oh God, I hated that character.
I've been watching Keeping Up Appearances the past week. Oh, really? But that's the whole point, of course.
Yes. I've
I
been
mean,
watching.
the actress Patricia Rowley said she loved playing her because it's the kind of person she hates.
Absolutely loathe. Yeah, I bet. I've been watching old classic serials at my end, old like Dickens and
All right.
Tolstoy adaptations and stuff. They've been great. So it's weird
Nice.
actually picking this up, and I know that it shouldn't be because these episodes were obviously broadcast weekly, and you wouldn't be in a position until much more recently to be able to watch them back to back, as it were.
Yeah.
It's interesting that
I'll be off camera. Carry on. Trying to find
it's
the
interesting
volume.
just
My camera's
watching
blocking
this,
the button.
trying to kind of get yourself in the mindset of where everything was at the end of the last episode.
Yeah.
Because it is very much a continuation, isn't it? So if you
But I think
tuned in for the first time, this is not a
we've
good
got to
jump.
go in against it. Like, no. I don't think we've got the disadvantage of last time we watched this was, 5 weeks ago? 4 weeks
Yeah, it was a
ago?
while ago now, wasn't it?
Yeah, because we had 2 weeks off and we did it 2 weeks before that, I think, or a week before that, so at least 3 weeks ago.
Mm.
So that does go against us a wee bit, which is, of course, why we decided that we'll do the alternate between this and DS9, because otherwise, especially the serialized story, you kind of want to get back to it, not wait for a whole month.
Yes.
You know? See, I find, for me, this is kind of where the show, or this particular serial anyways, kind of gets a little bit like, I mean, wait till we get to the bit where they're actually going for the caves and all that stuff, then I start to really zone out.
Mm. But we've got stuff going on at the moment that we've not had in any of the episodes before.
Yeah.
So we've got like cutting through the door and all that stuff, and just so there's interesting stuff going on. It may not be that kind of pacey, but there's the actors are certainly doing their utmost to try and kind of ramp up the tension of the situation. I've often wondered how they did that with the lift. I think it must be a television trick,
because I can't imagine an actual. Yeah, I can't believe it's a functioning lift. I think it's probably a black thing. They stepped in, and one camera sort of moved while a static image on either side stayed.
Maybe
they couldn't have had a full function lift. Not back then. Because if you look at the side of the lift, it's a little black line. So it gives you the impression that the camera was doing that, or opposite, while another camera was locked in and they mixed them together. I'm assuming that's what they did.
Yeah, it's got to be something.
There's no
like
way
that.
they wouldn't have, almost certainly, not in this point, obviously, they wouldn't have had a multi-layered, multi-level set.
Mm.
There's no way.
And there we go again with it arriving.
Now I'm trying to watch to see that if they went in front of the wall, but they didn't. We didn't see them go in front of the wall. So I'm thinking that was it.
Yeah, I think you're probably right there.
Because if they cross over, then you know. Yeah. I mean, it'd be the same trick they use a bit later when they try to have the Doctor on screen opposite himself. When they get to the chase, that's when they haven't got the obvious body double.
Yeah.
Because that's, I think.
Bless him. So a noble kind of gesture from Ian, sort of potentially sacrificing himself. That's quite effectively done, actually. That the destruction of that Dalek.
Yeah, it looks good.
It does. Considering what they had to work with.
Is it just me, or do all the levels say oil, 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 oil? That's what they seem to say. I'm sure it said 01, 011, 0111. Now, see, they cut away, so you don't see if they cross.
Yes.
It's too late now, because now it's just that little bit. So,
but he had to get it.
Yeah. He stepped out, and they left the camera so you can't see if it. Yeah, I think it's just some clever camera work, which is very effective.
Mm.
You never see them coming on and off or crossing over, but it's implied enough that you feel like you've seen it.
And again, it's playing. Well, I suppose depending on your point of view, my view is it's playing very much to the limitations of the of the budget and the program making, but also playing to its strengths and focusing in on the characters the whole time. So you get even when you're showing the whole group, it's still quite a tight shot of them all together, and same with the Daleks as well. Rather than trying to show, wide shots with excess scenery, because the scenery is just basically blank flats, isn't it? They didn't have the money or the capacity.
Again, that shot too, you see there's no crossing over the Dalek. It's just straight with two Daleks on either side. Hi, hi. So our friend's waving at us. Ooh, can you see me? Nope. Okay.
That was a lovely banana.
Glad you enjoyed your banana.
Indeed.
It reminds me of an old Beethoven joke.
Right.
You not heard his favourite fruit? No, Beethoven's favourite fruit?
Is it banana? Banana. That's terrible.
I know. I have many of those, I assure you.
That really is awful.
They're better at props. I used to do that when I worked at Tesco. I'd go down the fruit section and I'd be like, pick up I'd be by the melons rather. And I'm like, what melon can't get married? Or why didn't a melon get married or whatever? And I don't know. I'd be like, they can't elope.
Oh, flipping heck.
I love
I know. Any more jokes like that, and you'll be going down the lift shaft with that Dalek. Oh, back away.
That door actually wasn't that strong. That it could actually move from that position to this position, and it still didn't move.
Yeah,
all his weight's gone off it. But yeah, it's fine. It's fine. Oh yes,
here we are again. The half-dressed Thals, probably fine under the studio lights.
You mentioned location, yeah. Well, apparently, I seem to recall. In Planet of the Daleks, of course, the Thals return for the first time since the story, but that's way off yet. But even way off further than that, in John Peel's War of the Daleks, I seem to recall he reveals that the Thals with their spacesuits that we see in Planet, when they take the spacesuits off, they're dressed just like this. I mean, it's like the idea that thousands and thousands of years later, they're still
wearing half a body warmer.
Yeah, it's funny. I don't know. Fan service, see, always goes against a good story. I think.
I have to say the Thals are still less interesting. The Daleks are interesting, just because they kind of capture the imagination. The TARDIS crew are interesting because the dynamic is wonderful and they're all great characters. The Thals, less so. At the moment, I remember that from the previous episode that when they start chatting,
you're like,
it feels like the pace drops. Even though
I think
actually
anytime
we get a talky scenes like you get with everyone else, but it's just the engagement, the audience engagement with them, I think, is less effective.
Well, I think anytime you have in any TV show or book or whatever, certain groups of characters, or you spend time with certain characters, and you're itching to get back to a different set or a different scenario, whatever, then I think it's a bit of a failure on the writer's part or casting. Could be both. Because surely, even if you don't like a character, they should still be interesting. Because that's the whole point, isn't it? You can dislike a character but still be interested in them.
Yes, I think at this point the Thals are a little bit dull.
I think why they never came back.
Possibly. I mean, I'm not sure they necessarily stay that way for the whole story, but at this point they're kind of.
I don't know. We'll
bland pacifism is quite. There's
no nuance to it, is there?
No.
Their stance. I changed the word because I couldn't quite pronounce pacifism then. Their stance. There's no nuance to it. There's no levels, really, is there? There's just, we don't fight. Okay, why? Because we don't fight. Yeah, but why? Give us a bit of philosophy. Give us something.
Yeah.
It's very, excuse the pun, black and white.
It is. And the guy playing Timothy in this, in the film, it's Jeffrey Toone. He's Jeffrey Toone's one of those actors who tends to be quite engaging in whatever he does. The guy playing it here, I think it's Alan someone. I don't find him particularly engaging. I think possibly they needed someone with possibly someone slightly more theatrical, actually.
Someone who
with that kind of sort of plummy gravitas. Because knowing what's coming at this point, you're just kind of sitting there waiting for him to get shot.
Please just get rid of him. God.
Philip Bond as Gandalf, he's when he gets some screen time, he's very good. And the guy playing Aladon is decent as well. But it's this old cadaver.
Doesn't in the books at least, Ian and Barbara's son John, isn't his middle name Aladon? I feel sure.
Can't remember.
I've got a feeling it is. Aladon or Temenus, the one of the file names anyway. John Chesterton, or Johnny Chest, as he was also known when he was a rock singer in certain books. Small factoid for you, Doctor Who fans who've not read the books. There's all kinds of, how can we say, interesting stuff in the books. Extra details that, frankly, you would not believe.
Behind you, Temesis.
It's a trap!
I know.
It was Star Wars first.
You see,
that was a really rubbish death.
In the film,
that's good as well.
When they've got.
See, this is the same thing they do with the elevator.
Oh, it is. Yes, actually, split the screen, and actually what they do with when they show them with looking at the city in the first and second episodes, I think.
Yeah, it'd be the same thing. Yeah. In the film.
In the film, they toilet rolls. They kind of. I don't know whether they do that a bit better or not, because of course. Roy Castle's Ian turns up just at the right moment and goes, "Oh, get away, it's a trap!" And then he, that's the point that he arrives. Whereas theirs, watching Ian at the side, it's like, was he waiting to see how things played out? Because it was difficult.
Maybe he was hopeful.
Yeah, but it was difficult to. I suppose there's not necessarily a reason for him to automatically assume that the Daleks are going to come out and shoot him. It's just that at the point at which he does say
they suspect they are, don't they? Yeah.
Yeah, the point at which he does say "get away, it's a trap." It's a little bit too late, but I can't. I think possibly it's just badly framed. It's difficult to see if there's a specific trigger for that. It just seems like he's been waiting. kind of looks like he's waiting for his cue, which is not good.
Yeah. Is it just me, or is this star map really, really not very revealing at all? The one the doctor pointing at, you're like, how could you possibly make any? And that little box they got next to that contains their entire recorded history. It's like, wow, you don't have much of a recorded history.
Well,
there's not a lot in that little box next to them.
Dull people with not an awful lot to show for it, I suppose.
Well, I suppose that does fit in, doesn't it, actually?
I think you should all be on your guard.
Oh dear.
Oh, so there were more casualties. Some of the Thar women appear to be wearing like Playboy bunny outfits, just without the ears.
Yeah, I can sort of see that. Thank you. You're most welcome. Can you manage not to put water on somebody?
So at this point, presumably the crew are just thinking, oh, we'll hang out with the Thars for a bit, have a bit of a natter, make sure they're okay, and then off we go.
Then we'll sod off. Have they got the crew back yet? I forget. Or they lost it again? Back? The fluid link, or they lost it again?
No, it's with the Daleks. That'll be.
They think the Doctor's got it.
No, I think that's going to be the cliffhanger at the end of the episode.
Yeah, they would find out the Daleks have got it because the Doctor thinks he's got it.
He realises the Daleks
put it in his pocket, wasn't it?
Yeah, the Daleks took it from Ian.
Because Ian put it in his pocket and it fell out, didn't it? Because of the threadbare jacket pocket or whatever. Yeah, that's right. It's like, oh no. Oh, we'll have to go back then. Sorry, spoilers. For a 60-year-old TV show.
So yeah, it's just again, it's another long talky scene, isn't it? With in what's obviously a very limited version of the jungle set. Because they probably haven't.
I wonder how much of this was cut out of the colour version.
Sorry? What did you say?
I'm just wondering how much of the colour version cut this.
Oh, I can't remember. I've still only watched it once. I still haven't been back to revisit it, actually.
No, I kind of feel like I need to, but at the same time, I'm like, do I?
I'd like to
get it on Blu-ray or. Well, I figure it's going to be out very soon anyway, so I might just buy it and then watch it then.
I'm going to have a chocolate and rum truffle now as well. So.
Who? Chocolate
and rum truffle from Aldi.
Ooh.
They were reduced after Christmas. Apparently from like £1.50 to 19p.
I was going to say, they're a bigger box, but now they're a smaller box. Pop it in. What? Hello, lady of the house speaking.
Oh, postman's been.
Why wouldn't they? They look basically the same, don't they?
It's difficult to see.
It's one of those things where the dialogue is saying something that the imagery is not actually backing up.
Yeah.
Because what the Doctor's saying here and what the picture they show is like, it's not a revelation. Back in the day, they was dressed like people from the Middle Ages. Oh, okay, well, that follows. That's hardly a revelation, is it?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm assuming there's, I don't know, Terry presumably had a different image in his head of what was going to be on those plates. But did he, though? Because isn't he notoriously bad at describing what he's imagining in the scripts? It's like just something, some sort of creature here. So, well, that's all I need.
Yeah, I think certainly Ray Cusick said in interviews that Terry just put in scripts that they walk into a white featureless room, and there's a white featureless something or other here and there, so he can allow the designer to think up things instead. But it's odd. There was the earlier part of the episode kind of built as soon as they get out of the city. It kind of the whole.
Yeah, that's my problem. I think that's my problem. Oh, we seem to have lost Tim. I'm sure he'll be back in a moment. Tim will return shortly. Oh, here he is.
Oh,
here he is. Hello again.
Yes, sorry. I just had one of those error messages come up and it just kicked me out. Oh,
no.
Right.
Got kicked out. So yes.
Right. Well, YouTubers, we've just watched. Oh, and Spotify's. Apologies, Spotify's. I didn't mean to forget you. We've just watched episode 4 of the first Dalek serial called The Ambush. So yes, Andy, what did you think overall of that episode?
As I said, I'm at the point of, it's got a bit dull now. Like you just said, I think once they escape out of the city, they just all like, oh, now we just stand around and just talk a lot about anything, really. It's just like, I don't know. I mean, it's an odd one, isn't it? Because obviously Doctor Who, notoriously in the 60s and 70s in particular, it was very much made of, I mean, as Terence used to always say this, didn't he? How his only concern was getting another episode ready for next week.
Yes.
And that's, I think, should begin to show a wee bit already. They've got 13 weeks to film. We need 13, or in this case, 7 weeks of story to tell. Even if there's not, and there definitely is not 7 weeks worth of story in this particular serial. But which I think is a given when you consider the Dalek movie and how they still tell everything so wonderfully and cut so much out of it, unlike the colorized version, which apparently really, really, really screws up. Apparently everybody's praising the colorization itself, even though Barbara wearing a pink top seems very unlikely, but the editing and the cuts apparently are really, really bad. But this episode, I'm at the stage. But, once again, you enjoy watching the regulars. So, there is that.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think the episode probably suffers, like you say, from being it's the midpoint of the story. We've had 3 episodes before. We've got 3 episodes afterwards. So this is the midpoint. And what you get is you get the sort of the completion of the first, well, as it would ordinarily be the first 4-parter. So everyone's escaped, and then you get that just at the end you get that kind of like the sort of sucker punch to the gut of actually it's not the end because there's something we've forgotten, and so here comes the next bit. We've got to go back in there again and try and sort it out. So it's something that Terry Nation does a lot, and I think Doctor Who as a whole at this period does does a lot itself as well, because it happened it also happened in An Unearthly Child, where you get to a point where you, the audience, and the characters think, okay, that's the end. That's, it's done and dusted, and then something happens just to stop you. So in An Unearthly Child, they were almost back at the TARDIS, and all the cavemen suddenly appear, and you're like, okay, that's not happening. Here, they've forgotten about the fluid link.
Here we go again.
Yeah, Marco Polo, which I know we won't watch because it's missing, but it happens several times there where they're almost back to the TARDIS, and then something happens. So it's I suppose it's kind of it's obviously something that the production team have kind of picked on as a good kind of story hook to keep, but because it keeps things. I was going to say dragging on, but that's not necessarily for that reason. But it kind of keeps things going, and it also keeps the audience sort of going, each week. So I think we've kind of had that, but there was just that real kind of lull after the escape. We got that real kind of lull, like you said, just where they're just sitting around chatting for ages, and it's just I don't know whether it's in the writing or the performance or the directing, or if it's just a combination of the three. But it's just not. It's just not done in a very engaging way. So it just seemed like a bit of like a corner of the studio. We'll dress a little bit of the jungle set that we had for episodes 1 and 2, and and we'll just set it all there, and we'll just we can move around a little bit like that, but that's it, and it doesn't. There's no movement really. There's not much movement on screen there's no movement of the camera. There's not much movement from the actors, and it just it's kind of becomes about as much fun as watching a committee meeting, which is a shame, because generally up until that point, things have been decent. So the hope is,
I think Doctor Who generally
pick up for the expedition. So as we throw ourselves back in,
Doctor Who generally, I think Doctor Who generally struggles with longer serials anyway. I think that's a fairly consistent Doctor Who issue. It's rare that they have a long serial that really keeps going. But anyway, shall we crack on with the expedition?
Let's expedite. Yes.
Let's expedite. Okay. So in 1, 2, 3, go. I forgot to do that the first time. Sorry, viewers. If you're trying to watch it. It could be that we have image. Yeah. Hopefully we'll have image on screen, but if it's anything like last time, we won't. In which case,
what's going on? I missed it. Damn.
But here in the background, good luck sinking.
Yes.
What utter bastards. And I forgot to get myself a coffee. So,
oh no.
I think we'll talk over this a moment while I go and grab me some coffee. I forgot. I was so enthralled by what you were saying, Tim.
Here we are with the city model yet again. It's always a good. And again, it's if you go back to that the kind of theory that I said about before, but it being a kind of the start of the second half of the adventure, it establishes again, the Daleks are there in the city. The city is separate from the jungle. It's a shame they cut William Hartnell's sort of dramatic to camera. We just really had that at the end of the last episode. But again, straight back in with the Daleks. Nice, interesting Dalek scene, although
I didn't get coffee, sorry.
That's all right. Some writers and directors feel that the Daleks themselves are not particularly interesting when a scene like this happens, but
I don't agree.
They have
I think they're pretty decent.
At this point, because they're not. There's more variety to what they are talking about, what they're thinking. They're not like a one note monster. So there is actually some audience engagement, I think, with what the Daleks are doing and saying. So just saying, Andy, you kind of, if you look on this as the second half of the adventure, you've got the establishing shot of the Dalek city at the beginning, just to remind everyone that's where the Daleks live, separate from the jungle, and then the Dalek scene as well, just to remind viewers, what they're like. So it's all establishing things again, almost as if we're into a new story for new viewers.
See, you know what we were saying earlier? What we said earlier about the Thals and their lack of nuance in their stance. What Ian and Bob were discussing here just then, that had much more nuance already, where they were arguing the toss of what shall we do? Shall we? Can't we? We can't get them to help them, but and Ian's like, no. I absolutely think we should get the Thals to help. Bob was like, no.
Yeah, what right have they got to impose themselves on the Thals? It's not the Thals' fault, but
press the 10.
I'm going to have another truffle. There's 5 in the box. That'll keep me going for the afternoon.
I'm having a non-appealing banana milkshake. In my spiced rum Kraken jar. See, I've got spiced rum and bananas, so I thought I'd join you. There's no rum in it, although I don't know. Would rum and milkshake work?
Don't know, really.
I wonder.
I don't think I'd like to try a rum milkshake.
Well, if rum and chocolate works.
Yeah, it's working for me.
Well, I don't know. Maybe I'll give it a try one day. I might try it on camera and then be like, oh. Or I might be like, oh, this is awesome. Of course you do.
Brilliant. Well, because the arguments are, there's no right
it's
or wrong.
It's nice to have a bit of conflict.
There's no and it's conflict that makes the viewer think as well, because there isn't a clear right or wrong position, or rather, you can see the varying moral standpoints. You can see them for what they're worth.
Yeah. Ian's idea. It's very
and he's practical. He's the one that's taking,
and more or less what he did. And of course, he's thinking, well, it happened with a caveman, because he basically did the same trick then, didn't he?
Yes.
As we talked about when we was watching this, like, hang on a minute.
Body warmers. But see, already that speech of Alidon's is more engaging from the Thals as well. It's more interesting than the kind of discussions that we've had from them so far.
A minute. All right, I'll take it then. My God, you would just stand there, wouldn't you?
And I mean, okay, this is a different episode. It's possible that they have slightly more than just a very small remount of the jungle sets to work in, but it doesn't look like they've got an awful lot more space to use than they had last week. But already there's a lot more camera movement.
Haven't got much space.
There's more character movement.
Very clever with the way they use it.
Yeah, just there's just there we go. You've been got there.
It's interesting that the only thing they'll fight for is that old basic man protect woman nonsense. Very 60s, isn't it? A man will fight to protect his woman. That's the only thing he'll fight for. It's like, come on, she could have probably done it herself.
He's a Dalek who slipped him in.
Yeah.
So again, visually, this is wonderful. A wailing Dalek. It just makes you wonder if anything like that had been seen on television before. It's just it was quite kind of freaky and stuff.
Well, yeah, I'm going to say no, because sci-fi, televisual sci-fi is still, at this point, not common at all.
No, I mean, I don't know what was done in things like A for Andromeda and stuff. Yeah. There was the A for Andromeda series in the very early 60s, but I don't know if anything like that was done there. I'm kind of inclined to think probably not. So I think
I actually watched recently. Hammer did a version of Quatermass on the Pit.
Yes,
I don't know how close it is to the original, but
quite
oh my god,
possibly the finest Hammer film ever made.
Oh, wow! I thought it was quite boring. Sorry.
Did you? You're a disgrace. You are.
Yes. Sorry, you weren't involved in it, were you?
It's very similar to the.
I just like wow, it's
TV
so
story.
Boring.
Yeah, it's very similar to the TV story, except that in the TV version they're not digging a tube tunnel, but they mention a previous discovery of previous occurrence of odd behaviour that was related to them digging a tube tunnel. But in the film, they kind of they think it's just easier to focus on that. So no, I love Quatermass on the Pit. Is the Hammer film is excellent. I love the TV series, but I love the film as well. And they did the earlier two Hammers. They did the earlier two Quatermasses back in the 50s, in black and white.
Hang on, there's a knock at the door.
A knock at the door.
A sec.
Rightio.
Knock at the door.
Right. So it's me on my own again. And I don't think I'd noticed before that Dione has a different cape to Alidon. I wonder if they are his and hers, specially designed. I mean, they don't look particularly practical, I have to say. And here we go. There's an interesting development. So,
and typically it wasn't even for me.
So we've got a moment here where you've got Ganatus and Barbara sharing screen time together, and
yes,
and as we know, that kind of relationship, as it were, sort of develops, a little bit. I think slightly differently from both sides, but it's another way into Thal culture, as it were, creating that that friendship or potential love interest. And I suppose it's kind of there to I don't know whether it's to put the audience off thinking that there might be anything romantic going on between Ian and Barbara, or it's there to
I'm not too sure that they've actually, as a production team, decided there is anything going on with it at all.
No, I don't think they ever did.
I think that comes from their performance.
Yes.
That they start playing into it nearer the end of their run.
Yeah.
But it's all very much in their performance, I think.
Yes. But and certainly in the book, in the novelization,
this perspective makes no sense.
I mean, you're right.
The plunger would be by there.
Yeah. The dwarf gun.
The ice stalk's literally facing, looking at the gun.
But
maybe they've got two that we don't know about.
Possibly
the stalk.
The perspective might be slightly off.
Slightly.
But visually, it's much more interesting than watching a door open over the shoulder of a Dalek and seeing the Dalek move from the front of the picture.
Yeah, I mean, it could have this plunge up like that, but then you're like, yeah, the plungers don't quite go up like that. So yeah, there's no win, is there, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Until they start. You've got a little plunger or a little ice stalk sticking out of his belly. Right, Tim appears to have frozen, but it's quite possibly he's still talking. Soon find out. So you can tell we're back to recording on a Saturday because inevitably on Saturdays we have some kind of network issues, and Tim appears to be having some at the moment. Oh, there we go. We'll be back in a sec. I'll just pause it there for my patrons while we wait for Tim to return. We shall continue with the episode momentarily.
I like that last scene. It's good at setting the scene for the kind of the perils that are ahead, and you've got the expedition. It's already it's making the audience think, so that we know that there are certain perils ahead and they've got to be faced, whatever. Again, it's that Terry Nation trick of just piling one thing on top of another, more and more jeopardy, pile on insurmountable odds. And racked up quite a bill.
More peril, mate. Give me some more peril.
Who's paying this bill? Have you seen the sum? Do you take American Express?
Oops, no, that don't work. That don't work.
That's an aspect of the Daleks that wasn't really covered again after the story.
No, they mentioned it
on radiation.
Yeah. They did a static electricity thing in Dalek Invasion with their new disc thing at the back.
But, the static thing comes up all the time. But the fact that they're dependent on the radiation levels in Scarro's atmosphere doesn't really come up again. But then there's an argument that potentially this was some distance in the future, but then probably not, because in Planet of the Daleks, Taron and all of those Thals are, in advance of its time. I think it's just
1,000 years
it's just
ago.
just a Dalek settlement. While you disappeared to get your banana milkshake earlier, I hadn't
Yes.
noticed before that the Thals have I think potentially have a his and hers cape. The Diony's plastic Mac was different to Aladon's. It just had long, straight segments, not the kind of tiled affair like Antodus has got there. It's Philip Bond, or the character of Garrett, particularly the actor Philip Bond, is very much more camera friendly. He's much more engaging as a performer, I think, than any of the other Thals. I wonder if things would have been different if he'd been Aladon, or
could be,
or not.
What's this? I think, wasn't this the end of the first tape of the original VHS release? One to four, and then
the ambush was the end of the first tape, because it was the Dead Planet was volume 1, and the Expedition was volume 2. So we've now moved on to the second, the second VHS tape for the original Daleks release.
Right.
I can't remember whether it was it's unfair. Just smack a poor caterpillar because it's there. Was one video cover grey and the other one brown? I never had them, so I don't remember.
I seem to remember the first one had a kind of brown hue, and the second one, it's sort of a grey hue. And the text, I think, was a yellow and a maybe sort of greenish.
Yeah, I remember yellow. Yeah,
it's a long time ago. It's a long time ago. Many moons. This is quite cool.
Look at that. That's great. That's so good.
Yeah.
And it's so simple.
I mean, you can see the inflatable underneath it now.
Yes, because the picture's been cleaned up so much. I think it was only reading the info text on the original DVD release that I learned how they'd done it. Yeah.
The other part of stories like this, right, and this is true of most sci-fi, Doctor Who in particular, is that the planets always seem so stupidly small.
Is he lying on Barbara's leg?
Because we're talking the whole planet supposed to be.
It's a little presumptuous and forward.
He's protective.
Yes, but you're right. If you
it's just such a small planet, isn't it?
I was thinking something along these lines recently, and just when sci-fi programs encounter other cultures and races and stuff from other planets, basically you always meet that. So here we've got two races, as it were, but on the whole, it tends to be one sort of dominant race or one dominant species, and that's their planet. Whereas that's not reflected at all in the world in which we live, our everyday life, because
it's all monolithic.
Don't get on.
Monocultured, rather. Yeah. Well, I suppose at least on Skaro, you've got two warring non-getting on people. But the fact that the Thals and the Daleks somehow the entire planet, it's like, really? Really?
Yeah.
Because that must be either a very small planet or they've got quite a wide. It's like in Genesis when we get to it, the idea that literally somehow the planet is just made of two connected land masses. Because that's what Genesis seems to be saying. It's like, really? Weird. Especially when you look at their map they've got laid out, you're like, okay, that seems a very small planet. Oh, hello, cat. Thank you for stepping on my keyboard. Very nice of you.
Don't sit like that. That's a tell you. You don't sit like that, poking your ankle towards the water. That looks really good as well.
What are you doing?
That's brilliant. Oh,
Where have I got this screen for?
the sign language has come back just in time for the end of the episode.
Yeah, it comes and goes.
Oh, the ordeal.
Woo! The ordeal.
That was great.
You like that, did you?
John Lee Replimat.
Why have I got this stupid thing on my screen now? Go away.
We'll see at the end
what did you press?
who directed that episode, because I think that was a Chris Barry episode.
My cat stepped on the keyboard and pressed something, so I've got something on the screen now that I can't seem to get rid of. What did she press?
Yeah, Chris Barry.
Such a nuisance.
Right.
Okay, cool.
So, YouTubers and Spotify, we have just watched Doctor Who: The Expedition, episode 5 of the original Dalek serial. And you may recall, because it will have been mentioned just before this, that at the end of the ambush, we were slightly less enamoured of the story, I think, than we had been previously. So, Andy, do you still feel that way after watching the Expedition?
Hello. I feel it's moved along a wee bit. I still think, however, sorry, God, we have technical issues. Of 1 second. Excuse me a minute. I have cat issues.
I'll
yeah. You can get out.
You have your cat issues, and I'll pick things up instead. I really enjoyed that episode, and I think there was a lot more momentum again in it. There's engagement. There's I was interested in what the characters were saying. You had the kind of the reset, as it were, at the start, where you're into the second half of the story. So you've got the scene setting again with the Dalek city model. You have a scene with the Daleks talking amongst themselves to establish for the audience that they are, who they are again. And then so you've got more chatter amongst the Thals and the TARDIS team, but again there seems to be there seems to have been more energy and more dynamism to what was going on. You've got the moral discussion about whether or not the Thals, not just whether or not the Thals should help them, but whether or not the TARDIS crew should even ask the Thals to help them, because it's their bloody fault. They got into it in the first place. So it's some engaging moral discussions, which do not necessarily challenge the viewer, but at least engage the viewer and kind of fire the imagination. And then the second half of the episode, as they you got all the scene setting of this this is what they're going to face, or there's terrible dangers this way. So, we've got the danger of trying to get into the city. We've got the danger if you go through the mountains of facing whatever's there. We're not sure what's there. All we know is that it roars and it's frightening. And just, so it's whetting the appetite. And then I really think visually it delivered at the end. The momentum carrying through to the end of the episode was, I think, really, really good. I felt that was a really, really good episode, and it's definitely lifted the whole serial again for me anyway. Andy, you were saying, and then you had cat trouble.
Oh yeah. It's just technical issues all over today, isn't it? Cats,
focus, man, focus.
What was I saying? Yeah, my God. It was a better one. Things moving along now. Like you say, it's bringing into focus some of the issues now, and you're getting more of a nuanced argument, as opposed to the beginning where it's all very, let's say, black and white in the discussion of what should not do. It's all very black and white, but through Ian and Barbara, you've got a little bit of nuance of a bit more of a layer of the actual conflict.
Yeah.
Of what shall we do? How can we get the Thals involved? Dare we get the Thals involved? And Ian's like, I won't have the death of my conscience. And then she's all, well, you happily put ours.
Yeah, that's quite a wonderful moment there, actually. And then you've got in addition to that, you've got that they clearly set up the situation with Ganatus and Barbara as not kind of obvious, but there's a bond. Unfortunately, because that's the actor's surname. There's a bond there already. You can see a relationship developing between those two, and it's again adds another dimension to things. We've got these. We shouldn't forget that 7 weeks ago, 8 weeks ago, these characters were whipped up from their everyday lives.
Mm-hmm.
Well, sorry, eight weeks ago from our viewer perspective, these Ian and Barbara were whipped out of their everyday lives, thrown into this mad situation. And they're kind of getting through it as best they can, relying on just sort of sheer.
And when you consider for them, it's been days.
Yeah, exactly. It's only a matter of a couple of days
for them.
Yeah, since all of this
gone through quite the ordeal.
And then added to that, you've got then this kind of friendship, or possibly more, situation with Ganatus the Thal. So it's and it's only when you look at it and think, actually, like you said, that they've been, this has all taken place in, within less than a week of time, potentially only with an unearthly child as well, potentially like 3 days, maybe 4 at most.
Yeah, about 3 days. We thought they slept. They slept once during unearthly child, and they've slept once this time. So we're talking 3 days tops. Not even that
exactly.
yet.
And then
which is mad when you think about it.
It is absolutely.
It's definitely been quite an ordeal
mad
for them.
Which is probably a good link into the next episode.
Okay, patrons, on 3 then. 1, 2, 3. Blimey.
So another ordeal.
This episode better be worth it.
2609. It's a long episode, this one.
What?
Yeah.
26 whole minutes?
26 whole minutes and 9 extra seconds. Yeah, there's plenty of value for your money.
Okay. Well, on the plus side,
wonderful.
It's still better than the colour version.
That effect is great. It does look really, really good.
Oh, the guy's back.
Oh, it's a different bloke this time, isn't it? Or has he had a shave?
Possibly. By the way, if you're wondering, we're watching this on BBC Together, and we have some dude doing a sign language. Actually, he's just standing at the moment, but he will be doing
That's just
sign language in a minute.
you've got the smoke coming
good.
off the water as well. It just looks really good. Oh, checking his clipboard. Oh dear. Oh, and Todus isn't going to be happy. Come on. Put it together.
Yes.
Really not sure he was the right person to come on this mission. Keep it going. Getting plenty of use out of those little spectacles prop.
It's binoculars.
Binoculars, that's the ones, yes.
Yeah. It's spectaculars. What are you doing? Oh. It's just.
Sorry, we're not saying very much to this. It's because, yeah, it's really rather interesting. Sorry,
That's okay.
do
I'm just
apologise.
having cat issues at the moment, so.
Yeah, I did have one of our cats was trying to break in here earlier. Thankfully, it's given up. I know. I shall.
Mine happened. They
Undergo my
been a
ordeal with
nuisance
another chocolate and rum truffle from Ordeal.
You know what? I feel like eating that as well. I'm gonna get some food as well.
Okay. Wow. 23 days. Mm. Tell you what, I've not really, really never noticed before. The kind of glazed or perspex panels at the base of the Dalek control um, units, and I wonder if that was the kind of inspiration for the glass Dalek from the novelization. It's
You and
weird.
your glass Dalek.
I know. I mean, okay, I've not watched this. I've not watched this story endlessly. I've seen it a few times over the years, but never noticed before the glazed or perspex panels at the base of the control units in the Daleks were operating in their control room. And you could see like flashing lights and workings and
I'm
stuff
very
inside,
blurry at them.
which again just adds a certain dynamism to everything. That it's not just plain kind of scenery flat. So
How's your truffle?
it was lovely. What are you holding there? Is it a packet of Rizzlers? Oh, it's a cream slice, isn't it? Or custard slice?
Not
That's
cream,
gonna
custard.
It's going to go everywhere.
The messiest
Yeah,
dessert
impossible
ever.
to eat.
Oh no, you
Impossible to eat
have to
without
take
it
the
all
top off,
splintering out the
otherwise
side.
it'll go everywhere.
Good. Take your top off, otherwise it'll go everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah. Otherwise.
Yeah, she definitely doesn't. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Let him eat his cream slice, custard slice in peace.
Oh,
So in the
Newton's
ordeal,
cat today.
we've essentially got. I'd forgotten
Yes.
that this is the one where we've got the Doctor and Susan and Halidon and Dione just kind of outside the city at the edge of the
Mm-hmm.
jungle, and then the party through the mountains is basically just stuck in this polystyrene cave system, isn't it? Just for this episode, I'm sure.
Yeah. Ripping the wall off when they come on
Ripping the
corners.
wall off occasionally. Just, I think this is a Richard Martin episode again. Oh, sort it out, Barbara. Oh dear, that's not gone very well, has it?
He was very lucky.
Oh, oh, that's nicely done. Richard
It
Martin
seemed to
does this a
me
lot.
that their dialogue overlapped,
Yes,
well, the full angle and stuff.
yeah, he does. He does it in the Web Planet, certainly.
Mm.
Shooting at a mirror just above the actor to make it look, and then reversing the image
Yeah.
to make it look
Shoot
like
up.
they're
Yeah.
shooting from way up.
It's cleverly done.
Yes.
Very effective. So what's the difference between a cave and a cavern?
The Beatles never played in a cave. There will be some. I would imagine there will be some geological uh, difference.
Mm.
Why?
I'm
That's
assuming
the
it's a
top of the
size
Dalek in that
thing.
last shot. I mean,
You what?
the city model is great. Anyway, but it looks really good with
Mm.
that with that dry ice mist just kind of hovering around it.
Yeah.
It's a shame actually when when they actually get to the city that they don't have kind of a mist or a fog locally there in the studio as well. Diddle, ah, nothing to diddle about. That's great. Amadon is
I always see that clip. Whenever I see that, it reminds me of shall I continue, yes? We seem to be having some sound issues because you can only
it
hear me a
reminds
few
me of something
seconds
I forgot.
later. No, I was saying, yeah, that clip where the dog goes, we'll show them a thing or two. It was used in some clip show. I can't remember it. What was it from? I got a feeling it was a Saturday Superstore thing for the
Oh
25th
right, okay.
anniversary. They had a clip of each doctor doing just a little line or two. Like Conor Baker's line is, "Can't you sense it, Mel? There's evil in this place."
Oh
And
yeah,
the
from Terror the
doctor, fifth
Bird
doctor's
Voice.
like, "Sorry, mustache," randomly. Yeah,
Yes.
which all leads into the fifth, seventh
Oh, I
doctor
remember that. I remember
with the
that.
Dalek in the shuttle. Yeah,
Yes, I remember that
which obviously
clip,
it was in
clip section
'88. Yeah,
for the 25th anniversary.
yeah.
Yeah, it would have been on one of the Saturday morning programs, like you said, like maybe Saturday Superstore, if it was still running, or It's Wicked or something.
Superstore or whatever it would have been, because it was Sarah Green and I guess Schofield probably.
Oh, that had been going live then.
Going live, yeah, that must be it. And then they did an interview with Sylvester because Remembrance was starting the next week or this week or whatever it was, or that day actually, possibly. Oh, no, it'd been the week after, actually, Wednesday.
Cool. Yeah, I remember the clip. I don't remember the Hartnell clip, but I certainly remember because I think I had it on video. I think I videoed it because old, even clips were rare. You never got to see old episodes, but even clips of episodes were really rare. If there was anything,
the reason I remember the particular clips are because at the time, as you say, it was so rare, and at that time, '88, there's so very little First Doctor that I had seen, certainly. So whenever I hear it in the actual episode, I'm like, oh, that was, yeah. Like whenever I watched Vervoids and the Doctor goes, can't you sense it, Mel? There's evil in this place. And I'm always taken back to that clip because that was the first time I saw the Sixth Doctor, and I'm really blurry.
Yeah, there you go. There's those see-through panels at the base of the controls. Again, I've not noticed those before. It's mad. Aladon is deferring to the Doctor in a way that Ian doesn't quite, because although Ian does at times, he will assert himself.
Well, Ian is still very annoyed.
Yes.
With Ian and Barbara, Ian in particular is still very much blaming the Doctor for this entire thing.
I mean,
which is true because it was entirely his fault.
In some ways, it's a shame actually that wasn't then reiterated at the beginning of the expedition or the end of the ambush, when you had that moment where they realised that Daleks still had the fluid link. That Barbara didn't turn around and say to the Doctor, "This is all your fault, you stupid old man." So,
it's your fault in the first place. If you just left us go back to TARDIS in the first place. Although
it's kind of
you can certainly counter that, and maybe they could have countered that with the idea that we have got some real sound issues here. I was saying you can counter it. Yes, it's the Doctor's fault, but then if the Doctor completely unintentionally hadn't done the whole Mercury thing and made them go to the city, then the TARDIS would have still gone to the city eventually on their own and would all be dead now.
They'd all be dead, yes. So
because they would have gone to the city anyway.
Yes.
So the Doctor inadvertently actually has made a difference here without planning to.
Yes, I don't think that point is specifically stated, but it is. No. It's a very valid. It should have been. Is a very valid point. Oh, oopsie daisy!
So busy congratulating himself. He didn't see those big Daleks walking towards him. Interesting light that gives off no light.
Yeah, no, I was thinking before. It's odd that Aladon defers so much to the Doctor when it's his planet, his culture, as it were. So I suppose it's the start. Really, it's the first instance, I suppose, of what becomes something of a trope, certainly of Hartnell's Doctor, of him being an authority figure. So the kind of commands respect wherever he goes. It's alien cultures kind of look upon him as a wise elder, and often defer to him. because you think Alidon would be perfectly justified in saying, well, no, this is my planet, these are my people, I know the way that this operates. There's been some nice visual touches again in this episode where, like, they do it years later as well in Caves of Androzani, where you've got characters walking along or crawling in Androzani's case because it's Davison, crawling up a shaft or along a kind of cave corridor, and then up above it and below it you've got not quite the glass, showing possibly is a glass actually, just to give an impression of the top and bottom of the cave or the tunnel. Again, just it kind of helps. It gives the audience that sort of establishing view. So it's not just, although these shots are fine, it doesn't give the viewer at home much of an understanding of the broader environment in which they're struggling. Oh. Careful with that polystyrene.
Well, watch out for those rocks.
So if you didn't have to touch it and interact with it, it looks absolutely brilliant. As scenery, it looks brilliant. It's just the squeak it makes when you touch it.
Completely. As Hyacinth would say, don't push against the walls. Don't push against the walls. Sorry, I've been watching a lot of that show.
You're not going to bring her up every week. Can't stand that woman.
I'm on season 2, series 2, nearly finished. I suspect I might have actually have it mostly finished by next week. So,
all I know is that they stopped making them before the writer wanted to stop making them because Patricia Routledge said, "No, we're covering story ideas that you've already covered.
Yeah,
and I'm not being repetitive."
Yeah, she's basically like, yeah, it's getting repetitive now. I'm going to do other stuff now.
But then,
although apparently the writer, Roy Clark, he was very much, I'm only the writer, I'm not getting involved with wise.
He wrote about 350 series of Last of the Summer Wine, so he's obviously a writer who was not afraid of
he was
repeating ideas.
On and on and on and on. Yeah.
It's all this. It should be more exciting than it is, and I think the reason it isn't is because we don't see below the knees at all. So you don't have you can't see the ledge that they're supposed to be kind of creeping along.
There's no sense of scale,
and I suspect the ledge probably isn't there, which is why we can't see it. But the actors are doing
pure studio floor.
Yeah. The actors are doing as good a job as they can, but with the best will in the world, and without that extra visual cue, it takes some of the edge off it, unintended. I love these.
It does seem to me
it looks really Bill and Susan look so kind of helpless, just sat there on the floor surrounded by delegates.
Visually it's interesting, but narratively we've definitely reached a lull in the story again. A few lulls in it, first 3 episodes, great. Then
it's
the next
another
3
Richard Martin episode, and I'm wondering if that's the
hovering around doing nothing.
If that's the key. Ooh. I don't remember seeing them do that salute. Wow, that's 2 things I've noticed for the first time.
I mean, they didn't do any of the exterminate or the quite blatant Nazi motifs, I suppose, but certainly Because they're slightly more subtle.
In the film, in the Doctor Who and the Daleks film, there's a mass of them.
I believe so.
Holding
Yeah.
up their
By that point,
destroy the Thals. So yeah.
Of course, by the time they get to the Daleks as a movie, we're like what, 3 years after this?
No,
3
actually,
years or so.
only the following year. That was 65, and this is early 64.
Was it 65? Okay, so at least they would have had at least 2 more Dalek stories, I guess.
So yeah,
or at least one, at least Dalek Invasion since.
At least Dalek Invasion of Earth, possibly the Chase as well.
Yeah.
So.
Well, we'll know because we'll watch it in the right place when we get to it. Then we'll get to revisit the story over again. That's nice.
Oh dear. Don't pull that yet.
Oh, she's pulled a bit of the rock off.
Yeah, Barbara did that just now and tried to put it back.
Whoops. I mean, visually, what they're doing or trying to do, it's creative, trying to make it work within the confines of what they've got. But like you say, the fact that you don't get a sense of the scale or the geography of the cave doesn't really help.
None of them can see the signs. Either that or they're all ignoring them. You should have forced him to go next.
Well, again, I think it's just typical 60s, really, isn't it? Someone's been a wimpy, weaky guy. You just keep pushing them until they do it. They don't think, hang on a minute, this ain't going to go well. And obviously it was not going to go well. This guy is shockingly traumatized here.
That was one difference in the film. It's watered down slightly in that he survives in the film.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, it's been a while, but I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, he's there clinging to the sides of the rock pit.
I do like that the guy who's doing the sign language looks as excited as I do, because he does not look like he's getting into this at all.
No, he doesn't.
He's just like,
that's true.
Fuck me, this is boring. Quick, do it. Yeah. He's really not interested, is he?
No, I think I'm enjoying this more than you as well.
Yeah, I think you are this time.
Yeah.
It's okay, we'll be on the edge of destruction soon, and that's a good, enjoyable one. But then again, when you rewatch Doctor Who, that's the joy, isn't it? It's like, ooh, how am I going to feel about this story today? There's some that you always love, but there's some that you think, oh, well, we'll see what day it is, eh? See how I feel that day.
Oh.
Oof. That polystyrene, God.
I know, and that's why it's not really practical. They've not given him anything decent to hold on to.
No.
So he's just kind of just clutching onto the edge of polystyrene. Yeah.
But do we get a little tear of it again here?
Don't think so.
Or is that next week? Maybe that's next week. We'll get the tear of it.
Maybe that's next week. So there we are.
The rescue. Oh, is Vicky coming already?
So, gosh,
so we're going to get Vicky next week, are we?
Will our heroes ever escape? Ever succeed in this thrilling adventure?
How indeed.
4 Daleks, of course, this week.
Oh, yeah. Jeremy Davis.
Oh, Jeremy Davis was a designer this week. It's been Ray Cusick's week off.
Yeah.
Jeremy Davis did a few
Cusick's
later
like,
ones
fuck that
as well.
shit. Oh, does he?
And Richard Martin. There we go.
Martin.
Right. So.
Right.
There we have it. Now. Clear my throat. Sorry about that, everyone.
Welcome back,
YouTubers and Spotifyers.
Yeah.
We've just watched The Ordeal. And what an ordeal it was.
Yes, we watched The Ordeal.
We
lived through The Ordeal.
But some of that is down to the technical difficulties that we are experiencing today. So, yes, episode 6 of The Daleks. And we're going to have to wait a whole 2 weeks to find out what happens next. So, we'll be biting our fingernails in
episode 10 of Doctor Who, right?
And yes, so Andy, at the end of the ambush, the end of the expedition, we had flushing toilet effect and all of that, and it was all ending on a bit of a high.
Yes.
Do we think that the ordeal has lived up to what the expedition led us to believe?
I think it's one of those episodes that looks good on paper. I think it's an episode that possibly exceeds what they could achieve. Again, Martin's doing his best to give some visual flair where he can. Some nice shots, like the long shot of Aladon, or what's it, Aladon? Or whoever it was. One of them, Temitus or Ganatus or whichever.
Ganatus, down the pit.
Ganatus, yeah. That was a nice shot. And you got, as you say, you got the nice undershot of Susan and the Doctor with the Daleks around them. I mean, some nice visuals. Yes. And even the stuff in the cave where they're trying to get around that tight ledge and falling off the crevice and all this sort of stuff. You can see he's really doing his best. And he does. But it also, as you said, does show the limitation of the actual studio. But again, that's the, I think, charm of Doctor Who. And I don't know if it's still true, but certainly in the old series, that Doctor Who was never afraid to try. It's never a case of, oh, God, we can't achieve this. They're like, you know what? Let's give it a shot.
We'll do the best we can.
Great. Yeah. If it doesn't, try. And that's true of the 60s Doctor Who, especially in the first few years, so much. And you can't fault that. But even then, just dull. Sorry. I'm sorry. I hate to be very modern and say it's dull, but it is a bit dull. But again, better than the colorized version from what I've seen of it. So, I would still absolutely prefer to watch this long-winded version than the cut version. But yeah, it's interesting. I mean, again, there's not a lot that really, bizarrely, considering how much appears to happen in this episode, not a lot actually happens, really. There's a lot of sitting around talking again. A lot.
Ian and Barbara's party, they don't get from A to B. They get from A to somewhere between A and B at the end. The Doctor's party, they kind of get where they wanted to, but not.
Don't do anything.
They just, they sit around outside the city, try to confuse the sensors, and then while the Doctor's celebrating, being a bit smug, they get captured and taken inside for a sit down. So yes,
sit down.
I think you're right. It's a transitional episode that people are moving from place to place, but nothing specific, or very little specific to the story happens other than people just moving. I found it perfectly watchable, perfectly acceptable. It's not moving at a huge pace, but things things were happening. There was enough going on to keep me engaged, keep me enjoying it, keep me watching, despite any comments I may have made as we were going through about limitations of set. And so I'm just going to turn.
Unless you're on Patreon, you won't know.
Yes. So, but yeah, it's just it. That's just me thinking about of ways that could have potentially made it more visually interesting to me. It's I suppose potentially this episode suffers from what I've seen. It was probably Terrance Dicks. It's usually Terrance Dicks coming out with stories about stories about writing stories, and the episode 3 syndrome of a classic 4-parter, and the fact that you can't have everything ending too quickly. So I think his theory was that episode 3 tended to be where the story sort of treads water slightly to get to episode 4. I don't necessarily agree.
Unfortunately, we've sort of had 3 episode 3s, haven't we? Really?
But we are. I think that was the last of the episode 3s. In that respect, sort of treading water. But again, it's doing it in a way that is still. It's still. I'm still finding it entertaining and engaging. More and the Thals much more so now than before because of their interaction with the human characters. And there's more variation within them. With the whole Ganatus Antodus brother situation was an interesting move, just to try and give the Thals a little more about them. So that's something that definitely is in favour of this episode. So. And I've just remembered something I should have mentioned at the end of the expedition last time.
Yep.
And that's when, I don't know whether you are aware of this, or not, but when Day of Armageddon was returned to the archives.
He's back.
Oh, I disappeared, have I? Oh, fine, okay.
No, you froze. But you probably don't freeze on the replay.
I was narrowing away. Yeah. If I was narrowing away to myself, then fair enough. Yeah, I was going to mention something at the end of the expedition. I forgot. So I don't know whether you're aware of this, but when Day of Armageddon was returned to the archives about 20 years ago, there were actually 2 episodes that were returned. The other episode was a copy of the expedition,
right?
But of course, it wasn't missing. So, and it wasn't superior to the copies that were already held. But yeah,
so it's a bit of a dud find, really.
There we go. So,
oh well, one day we'll get Web of Fear episode 3.
Yes.
Or not.
Apparently, I'm quite happy watching the.
So yes, you're about to saw a thread.
So indeed. So does that bring us to the end of our Replimat Who watch or Who commentary today? Ordeal. A Replimat Who Ordeal.
Yes, yes, the Ordeal. I'm so using the Ordeal as the thumbnail on this one. Because
no deal or deal?
Yeah, I think we've Ordeal or no deal? Ordeal. Yeah, I think we're done on this one.
Yeah.
It's not been a good session.
Have to wait 2 weeks to
especially over this side. Oof.
So what have we got next week, Andy?
DS9 next week, and we have DS9.
Series 2 episodes.
We are
17, 18, something like that. Maybe.
I have it written down somewhere. Hang on, I'll tell you now. Something like that, yeah.
Oh, I got it written
down what episodes we've got to watch, and I did somewhere. Yes.
Viewer, he's
Okay,
consulting his
so
shopping list.
Next up is
I'll read that. Okay. Robert Hewitt
Profit and
Wolf.
Loss.
Oh, I didn't get that bit.
Yeah, he
Profit and
wrote
Loss.
episode 6.
Oh, that's going to be a Quark
Profit
episode,
and Loss.
presumably. It's got to be a Quark episode.
Yes, it is. Correct.
Cool.
God, I'm so blurry today. It's very annoying.
You are, aren't you?
Your
camera is really struggling to focus on you
today. Yeah. I think it's because the lights gone. Obviously, the lights have all gone down because it's getting dark out.
Yes.
And
our
there I am.
Yeah, our Patreon viewers are going to think that they've all got cataract issues, but yes. Okay, so profit and loss next week.
Well, I'm back. Yes, and then after that we'll be back to Who commentary for episodes 11 to 13.
Episode 7 of the Daleks, which is the rescue, and it will be the two parts of the Edge of Destruction, which I can't remember. Is one of them called the Edge of Destruction?
Brink of Disaster and Brink of Disaster.
Okay, yeah.
So yes,
directed by Richard Martin, and the second episode directed by Frank Cox.
Oh, okay. And after that, dear viewer, this is your 3-week notice, and Tim indeed will be taking a sidestep in our DS9 view into TNG.
Ooh.
For Journey's End, which is the sort of prologue of an arc, of a DS9 arc that we picked up shortly. But it's it's important. I mean, you could probably get away about watching it, but I think it'll just give you a fuller picture if you see how this particular thread began.
Yeah,
plus there's characters from that episode of Next Gen that cross over to DS9 and then cross back over to Next Gen and crack back over to DS9. It's fun.
Yeah, bollocks. Bring it on.
We're reaching a point where these shows are sort of coming together just before TNG, so it's quite a bit of variety in it.
Indeed.
Yeah, so over the next few weeks, viewers and Tim, we have DS9, Doctor Who, and Next Generation.
Gosh.
Yeah. God knows what else is going to come on this show at one point. Next thing you know, we'll be watching stuff like Torchwood.
Anyway.
Or not. Anyway, yes, we're rambling again.
On that note, yes. Oh, excuse me, sorry. On that note, thank you for watching, everyone who has, whether you're on Patreon or whether you're on YouTube or listening on Spotify. I've been Tim, and he's been confused.
Sorry, I know you're talking, but you're frozen, and the sound keeps cutting out.
You were
confused like this.
Yeah, I did. I did it deliberately
for a bit, so I couldn't actually not tell if you're still talking or not.
All right, shall I try that again?
So I'm assuming he's saying to me, "Yes, I've been Andy."
We've been the Replimat Who commentary, and you can find us in all of the usual places if you want to. Andy will put all of our contact details and so forth wherever everyone can see them. Do like and subscribe. Do contact us and let us know if you watched it and you liked it. If you didn't like it, as long as you're not going to be horrible about it, you can contact us anyway.
And if you didn't like it, you can't blame us. We didn't make the TV shows.
Well, no, we didn't. No, we can only be responsible for what we're doing at the moment. So,
you can't blame us for the TV shows, sorry.
Yeah.
So,
there we are.
Shall we say goodbye before you cut out again? Okay.
Yes. Until next time. Bye-bye, viewers, and bye-bye, Duggan.
Bye-bye, Duggan.